Sendikau is known for its work supporting smallholder farmers in rural Africa, supporting families who live in poverty to grow a future for themselves on their own land, on their own terms. In Uganda, one country where Sendikau works, people with disabilities are among the most marginalised and disadvantaged groups. That is why, for the past 3 years, Sendikau has been carrying out the Umuru Disability Mainstreaming Project, or ADMAP for short. Its aim was to make it possible for someone with a disability to actively engage in our projects, increasing their confidence while reducing the stigma surrounding disabilities and encouraging a shared understanding. Supported by the National Lottery Community Fund through the East Africa Disability Fund and delivered in partnership with the National Union of Women with Disabilities of Uganda, Umuru for short, the project benefited 4,500 vulnerable people and people with disabilities in the Umuru district in northern Uganda. The aim of the East Africa Disability Fund is to contribute to improving the economic outcomes of people living with disabilities, while strengthening local disabled people's organisations. As a mainstream organisation with a strong track record of Livelihoods work, Sendikau received the grant to help strengthen our approach to disability-inclusive development. The project saw participants working together in self-help groups, which included members with and without disability, to build a food-secure community thriving from agroecological, climate-positive approaches. Back in January 2018, people with disabilities in the Umuru district were living in poverty and faced a series of challenges. Many struggled with low self-esteem and no awareness of their own rights, as well as social challenges such as segregation and a lack of inclusion, both in their own households and in their communities.
Carly ene mano ginyuala kwere na pegi ngolo no gin megiluone TB spinal cord injury eno kelo ngolo ene ni koma an madama mano dangara ti no ngolo no fodo bedo kwere maka chiel kar madong wo temne oyat kwedo no ni dong an la man chalo dong pe chi dong wa chi dong konyi dong pe me bedo kwere pe an la dong tan matigi ngolo.
To stay when you are you have disability, it is not easy in their community, because in this community we can be fearing to work with them, to stay with them, to go in the meeting and to talk when you are in the community meeting.
As Sendikau began to visualise how it could meet these challenges, it simultaneously faced a challenge of its own. How could the established structure of a Sendikau project be adapted to be actively disability inclusive? Key to answering this question was partnering with the National Union of Women with Disabilities of Uganda, Umuru for short, who enabled Sendikau staff to better understand the issues and sensitivities surrounding disability. Molly Ongoza is a role model teaching disability rights. She is a leader and a trainer from Umuru.
One important lesson that I've learned is that working together in partnership is very important, because working alone you cannot achieve the goals that you would want to. So I've learned that partnership is the strength to everything.
We have implemented projects with persons with disabilities, but we didn't have the eye, we didn't know disability. Umuru brought in the disability experience, and therefore together we now know how to blend the two.
The community's understanding on mainstreaming and disability was very low. Many community members were very ignorant about disabled issue and how to handle them. So many of them were being ignored and left behind. Children with disability actually were even being hidden in houses. They were not accepted to be shown in public. They were not even given the opportunity to go to school. Nuhudu, as an organization together with Send the Cow, we started by first starting to sensitize the community, to change the negative attitude that they had. Awareness creation was the first thing that we started with.
To ensure a collaborative and inclusive approach, the two project leads set about engaging people with disabilities in the planning process and the design thinking process to develop local solutions. For example, adapting hygiene and sanitation facilities, farm layouts, and the adaptation of tools to meet their specific needs. Mary Okello is a community resource person selected from her self-help group as a leader and a trainer. Her role is to mentor households and support her community in the adoption of good hygiene and sanitation practices, gender and social inclusion, and improved farm techniques.
Tijo ber mi fonyo dani kin gang mi fu. Ira fonyo dano. Joma dongi mako. Gimi nyurne kiramir git pet kede. Kodi ke pero mir pere line. Pe choa.
Her role was particularly important during restrictions on movement due to COVID-19, as she was able to get messages to the community about how to protect themselves against the virus and encourage people to sustain Send the Cow's training in farm practices when staff couldn't get to the field. Send the Cow's projects are holistic and offer training in sustainable farming techniques, gender and social development, and enterprise development. This project delivered all those areas of training in an inclusive manner, with 30% of project participants being a person with a disability or someone with a family member with a disability.
We made them to first be aware because the project was so much of disability, so we told them it's going to be a mainstream project for all persons who are not disabled and those that are disabled. The visually impaired, the hearing impaired, the blind, the person with albinism.
A key project emphasis was on improving the confidence of people with disabilities and the attitudes towards disability of those living around them at a household level.
Awini yom chuin dak bene aner marano ni wanda ma tigi ngodo mukar wati roma gidan ma pe gi ngodo pen don kumber gi karu la wi don pa wi wa don ti la mal.
There's something unique about our programming, slightly different from other programming, is that we target the household because all the challenges are at household level. The poverty is at the household. The exclusion or the stigmatization starts in the household. The community is actually made of households. So when you treat the problem at the household, then you've solved it at the community level.
I'm not fear because now I'm organized in my family and I have a lot of things what I've just done for me.
We told them also how to build the houses, assistive or accessible compound or environment, so that if you're building a house, the doors have to be wide enough for a person to access that house.
Building on the project's foundations, Send the Cow trained the participants in how to form savings and loans associations so that they could start savings accounts and invest in setting up small businesses. The results showed that people with disabilities were able to join mainstream savings and credit schemes and actively save and access loans, something they were excluded from in the past when they were seen as being financially dependent. The project came to an end in March 2021, by which point 4,500 vulnerable people and people with a disability had directly benefited, with improved gender relations, increased nutrition, better hygiene and sanitation, and increased incomes and savings.
Inclusion to me means persons with disability and persons without disability participating together at the same level.
Now I'm a leader. We are just trying to go to be a leader, but we are fearing. But this year I've just tried. That's why I will select to be a leader for PWDS in Pogo Sub-County.
key learnings. The importance of engaging with a local DPO like Nuwodu. Building the confidence of people with a disability and instilling self-belief is important. Changing attitudes towards people with disabilities at family and community level is vital. Breaking down barriers to participation is needed, both physical and attitudinal. Role models are important. Group leaders and trainers with disabilities help to inspire others. Supportive community networks ensure sustainability. Self-help groups, community volunteers, and extension workers. Mapping local support services is important for referrals for specialist help and assistive devices. Sendikau may not be experts in disability, but this project has shown how, through collaboration and shared expertise, a non-disability specific organisation can include people with disabilities in their programmes. Sendikau is now committed to ensure that all staff are trained to include people with disabilities in their projects.